Hi, I am Emer Manzanero, you're one of the tour guide. In everything that we do, always remember that it always based on what are the knowledge that we have. That's why it is really important that we as an individual are really literate when it comes to the actions itself, to the orientation, and of course to the information that we should do have an action in what everything that we do. Number one requirement that you need to have is to have what we call to become a literate. Literacy not just about in something but of course particularly into the future. One thing that we should remember is to become a media literate. That's why we'll be discussing about or we'll be defining what is a media literacy. According to Chris and Potter 1998, it is defined the ability to access, analyze, evaluate, communicate messages in a wide variety of forms. Media is about communication. It is about understanding one another. Hobbes 1998, it says they're a modern scholar to refer to the process of critically analyzing the learning to create one's own messages in print, audio, video, and the multimedia. You're the one who create what kind of media that you need to use. A combination of everything, and that is the multimedia itself. Not just about to create your own, but of course to process it more critically by analyzing and creating the media literacy is. It says there, according to common sense, the ability to identify the different types of media and understand the messages that they are communicating. You're not just about to communicate, you're not just about to access that particular information, but of course, you are the one who understand on what are the things that you wanted to address or to imply to someone. It says there from the very start that media has a wide variety of form. Yes, that's true, it's indeed. The exact type of the media varies based on their if it's television, radio, newspaper, magazine, books, handouts, flyers, etc. But when they have in common is that they created by someone and that someone has a purpose, has a reason on creating them. Because a media literacy, according to this, is about creating for a reason. Not just about for the bad reason, but of course, we will be define it much more further. What is media literacy education? According to Voigt 2014, it is begun in the United States and of course in the United Kingdom as a direct resulting of war propaganda in the 1930s. But after this, it been expanded and being well known in rise of advertising in the 1960s. Why? Because media used to educate people by finding what is things that is bias, what is falsehoods, and the half-truths through print, radio, and the television itself. Now, the media communication has something to do to the political aspect, of course, and to the commercial aspect as well. So, in political aspect, if there is someone wanted to have a position in the government, let's say, for instance, I am willing to become a president of this Philippines. I will be filing a candidacy and then the COMELEC will be given to me what we call the candidacy period. The campaign period, which is I'll be the one who about to give and implore my platform into the masses. And that is really important because some of the politicians use this media as a form of informing someone, okay, someone that really wanted them to have a position in the government. So, that is the real power of the media communication in what we call the political aspect. Now, going back to the commercial aspect, if there is someone wanted to have a jacket, okay, let's say for instance an online shopping or malling, so you wanted to have a jacket but you don't need it, you're just about find curious or very intriguing on what we call about a certain item, and then you wanted to buy something but you didn't need it. Because of the power of commercial, the propaganda or what we call the things that manipulate us, the commercials, even the artists, or even the brands, are really deceiving, destructive, and even it's about manipulating you without any of your consent. That is the power of becoming a media literate. That's why it's become an education. You are the one who control over those things. Now, let's proceed to the 5 concept analysis of a media messages. Now, let's go to the what we call the concept analysis of a media messages. The first one that we need to think is the media messages are constructed. It is not just about instant, but you are the one who will be constructing, who will be building, and especially you will be the one who establish those information. Second one is the media messages are product within economic, social, political, historical, and aesthetic context, which means that those are the things that being reflected of a certain media messages. That after that concept, we move to the interpretative meaning making processes involved in message reception consists of the interaction between the reader, the text, and of course, the culture itself. Now, in the communication or the media, what we call media messages, it's about the process of the writer, the reader, and of course, the text itself. It's about communicating. That is the heart or the center of the media itself. Next here is, media has a unique language characteristic which typically a various form, genres, and symbol system of communication. During the ancient period, there is no formal education at all. There is no school that being discovered. But of course, a form of communication does not stop. It always continues. I tell you, the information from the history itself says that during the primitive time, people are not really good when it comes to speaking. When we base into the science, a lot of scientists are being discovered that a certain cave, a lot of paintings there, a lot of symbols there pertaining to what expression that they want to express during that period. Next is what we should do always to remember is about it has something to do with the languages that comes from our mouth, not just about the utterance that comes from our mouth, but of course it is more of what we call the mysterious, the dynamics of what we call the language itself. Next one is the media representation play a role in people's understanding of a social reality. It's about unleashing what is the truth behind of those things. What are the things that we should always to remember in voting since elections are coming? What are the things that we should always to remember in about assessing someone? The media could have a best influencing factors when it comes to our perspective, to our opinions, and we are all entitled on that. But be sure that our opinions, our perspective in life should be always anchored to the truth, to the unbiases, and to what we call the fairness in the society itself. That is the different concepts when it comes to the analysis of the media messages. Hey, so after defining and knowing what are the things to become a media literate, we are about to define or to know what is the media literacy is not. Those are the things that we'll be discussing that is not scoped or does not cover by the media literacy itself. What we call in studying this, you will be able to know what is the real definition of a media. Those are the opposite of that we'll be discussing for this time. So, let's proceed to the first one. It says there that criticizing the media is not. Yes, you heard it right, that not all criticism is part of becoming a media literate. Again, criticizing the media, the person, to the point that he is belittled, that he is being downed, very downed, it is not really part and the scope of media literacy itself. The second one, it says there, a merely producing media is not a media, although part of being media literate is the ability to produce media. What does it mean? Which means you're not just about merely producing it, you're just about to produce the media itself or the media messages that you wanted to. The third one, teaching with media such as videos, presentations, etc. does not equal to become a media literacy. Why? An education in media literacy must also include teaching about media, of course. As I said earlier, you're not just about creating a mere producing media, but of course, you should about to polish it as a person, your media itself, to become a media literate. Viewing media and analyzing it from a single perspective is not a media literacy. Without knowing the totality of the situation, you're just giving what we call the merely judgment. You're just about giving your unfounded information, or there is no such an argument on what are you pertaining to. Again, it says there that the media literacy does not simply mean knowing what and what not to watch, but it is about watch carefully and think critically. Think, and always think. If it's good for you, then go for it. But if there's something that you've discovered that a certain information is a fake news online, then it is time for you to do not believe on that particular information, and to what we call to share the knowledge that you have in about to assessing some information, some of the things that we consider in the internet. In the internet, again, a lot of books are really available. What we need to do to assess, to judge carefully, and to think critically.
Good day, kids! I am Veronica Vasquez, one of your tour guide for this journey. So before we go in the future, we need to know the challenges in teaching the media literacy education. So according to Kultay, the first challenges that they encounter is how do we teach it, or how do we teach that subject. So it is not easy to teach that subject, especially with overload curriculum. It also requires skills and attitudes to teach, because there is a media involved, so they need to use media, of course. The teacher needs to have skills like how to use it, etc. Another challenge is how to measure media literacy and evaluating its success of media literacy initiatives, or the measurement of media literacy and evaluating its success. It is identified by Livingstone and Van der Graaf in the year 2010 as being one of the more pernicious challenges facing education in the 21st century. For the simple reason that if we can somehow measure the presence of media literacy in our students, how do we know we actually taught them or they actually learned something from us? Okay. So based on Chris and Potter, the third challenges is media literacy best understood as a means of inoculating children against the potential harms of the media, or as a means of enhancing their appreciation of the literacy merits of the media. So, to make it more simple, is the purpose of media literacy is to avoid children in the harm brought by the media, or for us to appreciate the aesthetics value of the media. Another thing that we need to know before we go in the future, kids, is to know the digital literacy. So, what is digital literacy? Or illiteracy, cyber literacy, information literacy. So, according to Gay, Hall, and Blanchard in the year 1996, remark on how literacy has always been important, something having to do with reading text, with comprehension, and the fact that there are many different types of text, and each requiring a unique set of abilities to comprehend. So, digital literacy refers to the ability to locate, evaluate, create, and sociological skills to perform tasks and problem solving in digital world. Because in using digital devices, you will encounter different challenges or problems. So, these are the skills and competencies list in your curriculum. Envision and promote computer literacy should sound very familiar to you today, okay, or to the person in the future, okay. So it is, the first thing is tool literacy. So it is the competence in using hardware and software tools. What is resource literacy? So it is the understanding forms of and access to information resources. Next literacy is social structural literacy. So it is the understanding the production and the significance of the information. So meaning knowing about how information fits into the life of groups, about the institution, and social networks, and so on. The next literacy is research literacy. So what is research literacy? It is using IT tools for research and scholarship, or the ability to understand and use the IT-based tools relevant to the work of today's researcher and scholars. Another literacy is publishing literacy. So it is the ability to communicate and publish information. So ability to format and publish research and ideas electronically in textual and multimedia forms. Literacy is emerging technologies literacy. So it is the understanding of new developments in IT. So meaning the ability to ongoingly adapt, to understand, evaluate, and makes use of the continually emerging innovations in information technology. The last literacy that we need to know is critical literacy. So what is critical literacy? It is the ability to evaluate the benefits of new technologies in digital literacy. Okay? According to Lunham in the year 1995, the term digital literacy is not new. Being digital literate person is skilled in interpreting and understanding the meaning of sounds and understanding the messages they are communicating. Another kids that we need to know before we go in the future is to know the skills and competency comprising literacy from contemporary scholars on the matter to 4 groups. So what are these 4 groups? So first is underpinnings. It is the ability of a person to read, write, and operate software and computers in everyday living. Okay? And the next thing is background knowledge. So what is background knowledge? It is the knowledge of how digital and non-digital information is generated and disseminate using various types of resources. Okay? So the third thing is central competency. So what is central competency? It is the ability to connect together an information from a different resources. The last thing is that you need to know is the attitudes and perspective. So what is attitudes and perspective? So it is the ability to study freely as well as to perform effectively in terms of behavior in digital environment. Okay? What are the manners that you need to know when you are in the computer world or in the digital world? So that's all. Thank you very much, kids. So thank you for listening. For more information and for more knowledge, before we go in the future, Miss Rizalyn Labid will tell you all about it. You can now proceed to your school bus.
For this project, he has reviewed over 150 scientific studies that explore the positive effect of nature on humans.
Good day everyone, I am Rizalyn Labid, your one of the tour guide in our destination. Are you excited?
Yes, ma'am.
I can't hear you.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so it seems like all of you are excited. So today I will give you a little bit of information about the information literacy and the socio-emotional literacy within the digital literacy, and also the digital natives and the digital immigrants in the modern world. So in modern world, we have what we call information literacy within the digital literacy. So when we say information literacy, it is the person's ability to find, evaluate, and organize information. And when we say information literacy within the digital literacy, it is the access to information through the use of digital literacies. In modern or digital era, the ability to assess and evaluate information has become a survival skill for the media consumer or the media user. It is because of the excessive information and exposure to digital media. So media consumers struggles which information should be used and which to ignore. Example, students in modern world uses Google Classroom to submit their works, Google Meetings to attend meetings or classes. So to search an information, they are using different kinds of websites from the internet, like for example the Google. So if you are searching an information, like for example the meaning of the literacy, so once you put that term in the Google search bar, there's a lot of informations that you will encounter, but those informations are not always accurate. That is why students need to think critically. They need to check the sources, the author's credibility, to avoid the misinformation and the copyrights. So why do we need to do it, or why do they need to do it? It is because some of the information on the internet can be edited and manipulated by anyone. One example of the websites that is not trusted when it comes to searching information is the Wikipedia, because anyone can edit it, anyone can put informations, anyone can change the author and the date. Eshet Alcalay 2004. By the way, do you know him? Okay, so Eshet Alcalay is a researcher that draws an attention to information literacy as a critical component of digital literacy. Information literacy is the cognitive skills that consumers use to evaluate information in an educated and effective manner. Information literacy works as a filter. Why? Because it identifies incorrect, irrelevant, and biased information and prevents its infiltration into the learner system of considerations. Digital literacy education should be toward developing consumers who think critically and ready to doubt any informations they receive from the internet, even if it is said come from the authoritative sources. So when we say authoritative sources, it is the trusted and reliable sources of information. One of the example of this is Google Scholar. However, most of the studies on information literacy focus more on the ability to search information rather than its cognitive pedagogical aspects. So next is the socio-emotional literacy within the digital literacy. So social meaning interacting or collaborating with other people through the use of digital literacies. Aside from the information literacy, Eshet Alcalay also highlighted a kind of socio-emotional literacy needed to navigate the internet raising questions such as, how do we know if the person that we are talking to is who he really is? And how do we know if the information that we get from them is true or real? How do we know if the donations that they are asking is real or just a hoax? These are the questions that the user should also consider to survive with the massive communications in cyberspace. Okay? Next is the activities in digital or cyberspace can be dangerous and risky, especially to those persons who are immature and too innocent. That is why socio-emotional literacy requires users to be analytical, mature, and critical thinkers. They should also be socio-emotional literate enough, because socio-emotional literate person knows how to avoid cyberspace traps because they are familiar enough with the social and emotional patterns of working in cyberspace that is really just an outworking of human nature. Digital natives. So, digital natives are those person who are literate enough, who has a knowledge when it comes to the digital literacies. So, the term digital native has become something of a buzzword. Prensky 2001 defined digital natives as a generation that was born during the information age, or popular misconception born out of the term digital natives. And the educational ideas it's found is that the generation in question is born digitally literate. If that is the case, how can the digital immigrants teach digital natives a literacy they already have is a valid one? The answer must be they cannot, because digital immigrants are those person who were not born into the digital world. So meaning they are not digitally literate enough when it comes to the use of medias, to the use of digitals. So digitally literate is popularly defined as the ability to use computers or use the internet. Being digitally literate doesn't mean that they already know how to read, how to write, process, and communicate information on those systems in ways that are both meaningful and ethical, especially when the information involved is not involved in technologies most commonly used personal entertainment. So in this case, the gaps between the digital immigrants and the digital natives are begins to show. And it is really true that no one is born digital, because in modern world, or people living in modern world, not everyone has a privilege to be digital literate. Some of them are living in their poorest lives. That is why even in modern world, there's a lot of people who are also not digitally literate enough.
Okay kids, that's all. Thank you for your cooperation and participation. And for more information, I will let Ms. Rapunzel and Bukalan to handle it.
So hi children, I'm Miss Rapunzel and Arbukalan, one of your tour guides for this adventure. So children, and now we will go to the challenges to digital literacy education. So digital literacy challenges are the compatibility, the technologies in a new curriculum, how literate the one who teaches digital literacy, the capacity of someone to acquire the knowledge being imparted by digital literacy, and the willingness of the students to learn about digital literacy. So according to Brown, in the year of 2017, digital literacy education is a need, and in this kind of teaching, there is no single and comprehensive plan anywhere. And of course, with the help of digital literacy, it will help us to think more and evaluate everything so that it can make a better future for everyone, especially in living and in learning. And now we will go into how we enhance it. So in a literacy, there is always that we call challenges or maybe problems that we might encounter. From the word critical thinking. When we say critical thinking, this is an analysis or evaluation that can form a judgment, and with the help of educators in the Philippines, they can spread what digital literacy is. And now, we will teach media and digital literacy integrally. Teach media and digital literacy cannot be separated from its context, meaning and form of other topics. Critical thinking requires something for it will be able to develop. Similarly, making a moral framework in students that can only be good just for talking. This moral framework develops through practicing, and we base our decision on it. Thus, in the context of everything else we do on our daily lives. So, according to Koltai 2011, the teaching of fundamental principles of this and other literacy should be done integratively with other subjects in school. However difficult the process might be. To be exact, teach those children in different subjects, make them as part of this student's life and in school curriculum. Anything else will mislead to them.
Yes,
ma'am. And now, children, we need to master the subject matter. It means that whatever we teach, we must not stick to our subject, but of course, we need to know the reason why we are teaching that subject so that it will easily understand by yourself. And when you teach it to other students, they can come up to an idea. They can easily understand it. After all, teaching in itself a kind of media the students are obliged to consume. It's only fair to know that it is right. Next, children, we need to think multidisciplinary, not just messages. So, how can a teacher correlate media and digital literacy in mathematics as a abstract? The answer is the pure mathematics in mindset and embracing the communication to be important in math as computation. If the communication is accepted, this leads to new venues for new literacy. For example, the students make web page detailing what system if linear equations are it is. Its importance and the techniques for solving it, alternatively creating digital posters that explain the same things. Exact strategies can be applied to any nearly subject matter. It is the matter of believing. As educators, how we communicate is as important as what we communicate.
Okay po, ma'am.
So next, children, we need to explore motivation, not just messages. When we say explore motivation, not just messages, it means that we are not seeking just a direct answer, but we need to elaborate it and understand it, because sometimes you can learn it from your experience, and knowing that we must know how we can develop it. You have something to get to do. You're interested in your task. You might have an assigned this task or for yourself rather than receiving it from someone else. And you are happy to put in the time and effort to complete it.
Yes, po.
So of course, we have the leverage skills that the students should have. Once you learn the leverage, those skills, you can set professional goals and find the best role to complement the strengths you bring to the workplace. These are the some strengths that the students should have. First, we need to have the time management, communication, critical thinking, leadership, attention to detail, creativity, problem solving, and teamwork. Whatever a person desires, they can explore that they are interested in. And it can improve the media and digital literacy education in our own classroom. So children, that's all the information that I can give to you. So you may now take your time to enjoy the place of this future world.
Thank you po.
Wow! Wow, it's so beautiful. Look!